Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Just an update video for you. I lost a bunch of footage of some of the things that I've been doing to the car, from the camera to the computer. I don't know if it was accidental deletion or what, but I've done a lot of stuff in the last few weeks, and unfortunately I don't have footage of it. But I'm gonna give you an update, let you see what I've done, and I've got a pretty big video for you today, so I hope you enjoy it. First of all, I want to show you guys the parts that I got in. Okay, so let's see, can you see that? Yep, Atkins Rotary Specialist. Okay, so that means we got parts for the rotary motor. They packaged it really nicely. A lot of the parts were in these bags, separated. So I got genuine Mazda bearings for the rotors, and I had those pressed in locally at a machine shop here in the Phoenix area. So boxes are empty, but I just kept them, you know, as just a reminder that I have brand new Mazda bearings. So we've got brand new oil control rings for the rotors. We got the O-rings for the oil control rings, new springs for those, new corner seal springs, genuine Mazda corner seal springs. We got the Atkins Rotary solid corner seals. These are 2mm for the 2mm apex seals. Got those. Front and rear main seals, brand new. Alamar, it's for putting the motor together. And got my new thermal pellet. I will be reusing the old spring, just because they didn't send one. Here is the apex seal springs. We got the large ones and the small ones. Corner seal springs. We got the Atkins Rotary, or I'm sorry, these are side seal springs, and the Atkins Rotary side seals. And we went with the Atkins Rotary Cryo apex seals. So these are a two-piece seal, but they should hold up really well. And then we have just a huge assortment of O-rings, gaskets, new washers. I mean, if you guys are looking for any kind of rebuild kit for your rotary motor, check out Atkins Rotary. They're phenomenal, fast shipping, great customer service. I mean, huge shout out to these guys. This whole kit, for bearings and everything included, ran about $2,400, but I mean, literally you get everything from top to bottom. So that's pretty cool. There's gonna be a lot of work going on with these parts. So next, I took the liberty of ceramic coating the housings white, and then high heat painting the irons with some duplicolor high heat paint. So I did the center iron and the rear iron in like a metallic purple, which I think looks pretty good next to the white, and then the front iron is blue. So yeah, I mean, I did all that. I cleaned everything up. And the other thing that I did order for this rebuild was the Pineapple Racing. I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty dark. Pineapple Racing large street port template. So that is for the secondaries, and that is for the primaries. The front iron is a secondary, and I'll just give you a little shot of the port work that I did. I did this myself with just a Dremel. It came out really nice and smooth. I did clean up the runners. I didn't port the runner, but I just cleaned it up. And I did that on all 3 irons. And I also got the template for the exhaust. Pineapple Racing again. And this is for the large turbo port, I guess. So I ported the exhaust ports in the housings themselves. I didn't go all the way with the port just because it looked a little large to me. I did leave some there. It's a huge improvement from what it was on both of them. Like I said, I did film all this, but between the camera and the computer, something happened. The file was corrupted and it didn't work. So unfortunately, you guys don't get to see all that, but you do get to see the afterwards of it. So today, the main focus is going to be building the rotors. There's a lot that goes into building these rotors. So stay tuned. I'm gonna get everything set up and laid out, and then we'll go through and build these things, and then we'll be ready to put the motor together. So stay tuned and give me just a second. All right guys, so got everything set up to start building the rotors. I'm gonna give you a quick breakdown of how I've got everything laid out, why I've got it laid out that way, and then I've got some funny news for you. So, okay, so there is oil control ring springs. I've already put one in just to test fit it. You do have outer and inner springs. The cool thing about the Atkins rotary kit is they're color coded. The blue color is for the rear face of the rotor. And believe me, this does matter because there's a little tiny notch in there. I don't think you can see it. But these springs have, one side is round facing down and one side is square pointing up. So anyway, these are rotational. Your rotors are rotational. You have to keep that in mind, which way it's going to rotate while it's in the motor. That way the spring will lock itself in and the control ring will not just spin and wear and damage itself. So I'm going to do the rear face of both rotors first. So I have them labeled. This is the rear face of the front rotor. This is the rear face of the rear rotor. It's also very important to make sure you don't mix up your rotors. You know, keep track of them when you pull them out. That way the motor stays balanced like it was from, you know, the factory. I've got my side seals and side seal springs, which that will be after the oil control rings. Got my O-rings for the oil control rings, my corner seals so I can test fit them. And I need those for when I do the side seals. So I would recommend doing the rear face first, flip both the rotors over, and then do the front face. Once you've got that done, then just make sure you keep track of which rotor's which. That's why it's important to label them. The Sharpie, paint marker, whatever you use will not hurt it. Don't scratch into it or scribe it or anything like that. Just use a marker. And just make sure you keep track of them. Another way I kind of did it is I cleaned one up pretty good. I left the other one, you know, a little bit dirty. It's silly, but it's just another way to make sure you can tell which one is which. So I will be doing this here shortly, but as I was setting up, I got a phone call from Chris, and he thinks he blew up the transmission or the rear end in his Camaro. So I'm gonna get in the truck. I'm gonna go get him. We're gonna pick up a trailer, grab his car, and then I'll be back. So stay tuned. All right guys, so we made it back. There is the Camaro. pretty sure that he wrecked his rear diff. Pretty much has 7 neutrals. First through 6 and reverse is all pretty much neutral. So he's gonna look into it. I'm back now. I'm gonna start working on the back side of both rotors. Start with the oil control rings, putting the springs in, and then putting the oil control rings in. I'm gonna set the camera up, do a little time lapse. That way you guys don't have to watch everything. I'll cut in on some key points, and then we'll go from there. All right, so let's do it. Okay, so like I said earlier, it does matter which springs you use depending on the face of the rotor. I'm starting with the rear face, so I will be using the blue color springs for the inner and outer oil control rings. It is important to make sure you use the right springs, make sure you get them the right direction in relation to the rotation of the rotor. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll do the rear of both, then I'll flip them over, do the front of both, and then we'll move on to the next step, which would be side seals. Here is the new inner oil control ring. This is the bottom because it has a little notch right there, and right there. It needs, one of those notches needs to catch on the part of the spring that faces up. I don't know if you can see that. That's very important to keep the oil control ring from spinning and wearing faster than it should. Okay, so here I've got the oil control ring O-rings. As far as I know, there might be a little bit of a difference. I don't know if you can see that. One's a little smaller than the other, and that's just because one's for the inside, one's for the outside. So we're doing the inside. We'll take the smaller one, and I'm going to just put a little bit of oil assembly lube on the O-ring itself, just to kind of help hold it in place. So there you go, and then you just kind of work it around the cage, and there you go. And all this oil will, you know, burn off. It's an oil ring, so it's not going to hurt it to have oil on it at all. It is important that you line up that notch with the notch in your spring. So I'm going to have to be very careful to do that. And then you just push it down, and it should freely spring up and down just like it is. So there's one on the front rotor, the rear face. Now I'm going to do the outer, and then I'll speed things up for you guys just to give you an idea of how all this goes. And again, here's the outer ring. The O-ring actually sits on the inside, so we might use a little bit more oil for this. And this is proving to be more difficult than I would have imagined. But hey, there it is, right there. The O-ring is in there all the way around. Find the notch on the bottom. Find the notch on your rotor. And so there you go, both oil control rings on the rear side of the front rotor are in, and they move freely with minimal effort. They bounce right back up, which is good. That means that they will keep oil out of the combustion chamber and in this bearing area like they're designed to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed things up a little bit, work on the back side of this one. I'll flip them over, do the front side, and then I'll give you guys an update. Okay, so there you have it. I have all the oil control rings in both faces of both rotors, the front and rear. They all have good free movement up and down with the new springs. Got, you know, some good oil in them. So now the next step is going to be moving on to clearancing side seals. So in order to clearance the side seals, I'm going to have to put in the corner seals. I don't know if you can see that. I don't think so. Okay. But these are the Atkins rotary solid corner seals. Sorry, I have super glue all over my hand from cutting myself. And I'm gonna have to put in the corner seal springs in order to get the corner seals out. And then I will start clearancing the side seals. Now, these side seals, doesn't matter who you buy them from. There's a bunch of people out there that sell them in kits. They are all made long for the groove, and it sits right in here. You have 3 per rotor face, so 6 per rotor, 12 in total. And they're all made long because they have to be clearanced between the corner seal and the end of the side seal. I have been doing a lot of research and reading on the forums. I did find some very good information from a pretty renowned motor builder, and I will be using his specs for the side seal clearances, and I'll tell you guys that when I get there. But it's really not much different. It's a little bit more, it's a little looser fit than Mazda OEM spec, just for boosted engine applications. Give myself a little bit of leeway, a little bit more protection for the engine. So I'm gonna get everything set up for that, and we'll start clearancing side seals. Here is the front rotor. I put the corner seal springs and the corner seals in so I can start test fitting the side seals. Each one has to be individually fitted for its spot. So once I get these fitted and clearance the way that I want to, they're gonna have to stay in that spot. So that's when I'll be Vaselining the seals and making sure that they stay in that location. The corner seals and corner seal springs, however, will probably come out until the motor's assembled, just so I don't lose them, so they don't pop out. But what I'm gonna do is put the side seal springs in. That way, when the side seal does fall in, I'll actually be able to get it out a little easier. But I might just wait to do that. So let's start with seeing how much longer one of these side seals is in relation to our rotor. So brand new side seal, and as you can see, right, let's see here, right there, it is quite a bit long. It's actually sitting on top of the corner seal, and it's all the way flush up against this corner seal. So what we need to do is make some revisions. I'll be doing that with just a Dremel tool and a grinding stone on the Dremel, and slowly taking material off, and when it gets closer to fitting, then I will start very gently taking material off and get it to the exact tolerance that I want, which is going to be a 3/1000 of an inch clearance between the corner seal and the side seal. Mazda OEM spec, I believe, is 2/1000 of an inch. But like I said, I did some research. I talked to some people, and a very reputable engine builder shared some information and said that the 3/1000 just gives a little bit of, I guess you could say, leak down room for boosted engines. Just kind of a little bit more insurance. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a shot. And remember, everything in this build, if it fails, it's my fault. I'm the one putting it together. I'm the one that's got my hands on all of it. So if it fails, it's my fault. Nobody else's. I'm taking information from all different platforms, from a bunch of different reputable people, and trying to put that into my build. So if something goes wrong and this thing blows up, it's my fault, nobody else's. I just hope I really don't mess up. So like I said, it doesn't take a lot. I'm gonna go slow, take little bits at a time, and just try to get this thing to fit pretty decently. And so still need some more. So here we go. Give that a shot. Okay, so this is right just about to fit in there. So all I'm gonna do is try to square that up just a little bit on the bottom. It's a little out of square that up, just super light touches, and then test fit it again. All right, so it fits. I'm gonna see if I can show you exactly how close that gap is. Come on, focus. Well, I can't get it to focus, but now what I will do is take my 3/1000 or 0.08 millimeter feeler gauge and see if I can slide it between the two. And it looks as though I can, just barely. I don't think you can see that on the camera. But that's what I have to do. I feel pretty comfortable with that. 3/1000. It's a little bit loose, not a big deal. So I'm gonna do the other 11 just like that, and then I'll let you guys see it when I get done. All right. Okay, guys. So here we are, probably like 3 hours later. That took a really long time. Not necessarily because it was difficult, just super time consuming, trying to make sure you get all the side seals clearanced properly so you don't have huge gaps. All I used was just a simple Dremel and my feeler gauge to check the clearance between the side seal, which you can't see because it's covered in Vaseline, and the corner seal. There's 12 of them, 6 on each rotor, 3 on each rotor face. Got 2 completely built rotors aside from the apex seals, because those go in when you're assembling the engine. You have to have the housings in place in order to put those in and keep them locked in place. Otherwise you won't be able to fit the housing around the rotor. So I'm going to end the video here. Next step will be assembling the engine. I hope you guys like this video. Stay tuned though. The next video will be a lot more involved. I'm hoping when assembling the engine. Should be pretty interesting. We're getting really close with this thing. And again, like I said earlier, you know, I'm taking my time with this because if anything fails, it's my fault. I'm the one that's got my hands on all these parts and pieces, and you know, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with these motors, and that's why people call them unreliable, but they're not. It's just on how you build them, how you treat them, how you take care of them. So just remember, you know, I'm taking my time, but I'm bringing you guys along for the ride. I hope you enjoy it. Leave your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's only a dream until you make it a reality.